Hey, it's been a while. You're probably wondering where I've been. The answer is nowhere. I'm just lazy. I'll talk about that and an important announcement at the end of the video. Right now, thanks to these guys for the suggestion. Load up The Last of Us. Start a new game. Welcome to a sleeping child. You are Joel, father to the sleeping child who hasn't gone to bed even though it's almost midnight and she looks about 12. If that was me, my mum would have sent me to sleep in the crematorium, because I'd be dead. You must be nicer than my mum. Or maybe it's the watch she got you as a bribe. Eventually she falls asleep, so you put her to bed only for her to be woken up by a phone call from your brother Tommy. He wants to speak to you, but then the phone gets disconnected. Maybe you should have paid your phone bill. Sarah gets up to find you because that's the normal thing to do when receiving a concerning phone call from your uncle in the middle of the night. But you're not here. How strange, the same thing happened with my dad. He disappeared too. Oh wait, you're back. Still waiting for that from my dad. You seem to be concerned about the neighbor or something, and he seems fine to me. Well, not anymore. Tommy turns up in his car, so you jump in and start driving. It's a strange time to go for a road trip, but whatever. Road trips are great and all, but you know what's better? Raid Shadow Legends. If only my transitions were as good as Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, I have reached what you call true fame because this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, I've always wanted to say that. More specifically, we're talking about Raid, Call of the Arbiter. Unlike the game, this is an animated series taking place within the world of Teleria. It's got action, it's got lore, basically everything my life is missing. This limited 10-part series will build on everything you already know about Raid, but in a cool animated kind of way, exploring new characters and old characters as the Arbiter assembles a group of champions to combat the war-torn world. New episodes of the series are released every Thursday at 10 AM EST until July 20th and can be watched in-game for free with the first episode already available. I've just watched the first episode with Gaelic and this guy has experienced more character development in this 6-minute episode than I have in 24 years of life. It's pretty darn cool, and what's even cooler is to celebrate the release of the new series, Raid Shadow Legends has added a load of Call of the Arbiter related content, like new champion bios for you to explore, including champions in the show like Gaelic, Aethel, Kyle, and Elhain, and even fan favorites like Death Knight and Sill of the Drakes. Now you'll be able to know them like you've hired a private investigator to stalk them 24/7. You also have a chance to get Artak, that's Galic's dad in case you didn't know, as a playable legendary character simply by logging into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. If you're new to Raid, now is probably the best time to join. I'll even be kind enough to let you use my link in the description or scan my QR code. That way you can get the epic champion Knight Errant as well as some other useful stuff. Once again, thanks to Raid for sponsoring the video. My life is finally complete. Now, where were we? Something strange seems to be happening around you because there's police cars. Oh, and people are eating people. This isn't what I had in mind when you said road trip. The car isn't an option anymore, so you start running down the street, and I don't know what it is, but something isn't right about this town. I just can't put my finger on it. The infected people start chasing you, so Tommy stays behind to hold them off. Meanwhile, you try to get to safety with your daughter. She's kind of heavy though, so the infected catch up, and an army man saves you. Maybe save isn't the right word, because he just killed your daughter. Listen, I know this is supposed to be emotional, but tell me she does not sound like a seagull as she's dying. 20 years later and you are, god damn, you've aged like fine wine. Somebody should kill your daughter more often. There's a woman called Tess at your door. I guess you and her are like partners in crime, like Batman and Robin, but without the money. And it's the apocalypse. Okay, you're nothing like Batman and Robin. She just got jumped on the way back from a job by Robert's men. Oh no. Who's that? Whoever he is, you and Tess are trying to find him, which is hard to do when the military has everything locked down and stuff. I suppose it makes sense. It's to protect civilians in case anything bad happened. Like that. That is, or was, your way to go see Robert, I think. But you also have a less legal way of getting out to find him, so you get your guns, gas mask, and bag like it's your first day at a really fucked up school and head to Robert. From what I can gather, you guys are smugglers. Robert has some of your smuggledness, and you want the smuggledness back, so go visit him, but then his goons try and stop you, forcing you to shoot them. I say force, but it's not like anyone was telling you to do it, you just did it. Eventually, you find him and he runs away, which I say is a pretty normal reaction for someone who just witnessed 2 people go through about 30 people paid to protect him faster than a well-paid porn star. When you finally corner him, he still tries to run, but it's hard to run when you know. Listen, you little bitch, we want our guns that you have. I can get you those guns, you just need to. Oh my god, fuck. I was just about to tell you where they are. What the fuck? I'll tell you where they are, just let me talk. It's a shame he didn't know where the guns were. Anyway, the Fireflies, who were like a group trying to find a cure for the infection or whatever, have your guns, and their leader Marlene is here now because reasons, so you guys are like, can we have our guns back? And she's like, yeah, but I need you to babysit this child first. Okay, how hard can that be? Turns out very. It's very hard. This is Ellie. Marlene wants to smuggle her out of the city to a group of Fireflies, which is very illegal, but you two are excellent illegal people, so it should be no problem. Even if you're not on board with this idea and being a Mr. Grumpy Pants. Tess goes with Marlene to check if they have the guns while you take Ellie to a safe house to get some rest. Tess comes back and so begins your job as an apocalyptic babysitter. First things first, you need to sneak out of the city. This should be fairly simple at night as long as you're quiet. Those soldiers were testing you to see if you were infected, and who'd have guessed Ellie is infected, but how come she's not trying to eat you? Because the infection likes her as much as the general population likes Cats starring James Corden. She's immune, is what I'm trying to say. From the infection, but not from bullets, and those gunshots you were firing off have attracted more army guys who I imagine use bullets, so you should go. The sneak happens, and you find a safe space away from the soldiers where Ellie tells you that the Fireflies want to use her to make a vaccine for the infection and save the world. I think I'm the key to finding the vaccine. Wow, acting like you're some main character in a video game about infections. In case you haven't heard, there is no cure. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. That's why we're trying to find one. I think this would be a good idea. A much better way of making money than selling my feet on Footfinder. You said you enjoyed that. Of course I didn't. The three of you start moving through the city when you come across a clicker. It's dead. So in case you don't know, this infection is caused by good old fungus. A clicker is someone who's been infected for a long time and they have a big thing growing on their head which makes them blind, but that doesn't stop them from clicking at you and grating your skin off like it's a block of Cathedral City mature cheddar. I guess you could say he wasn't a very fun guy. I'm sorry, I'll let myself out. It was bound to happen at some point, that's all I'm saying. Suddenly, there's clickers everywhere, and you need to sneak through them to escape the buildings, only to immediately go back into another building. You were getting chased by the infected, though, so it's not like you had a choice or anything. You get separated from Ellie and Tess, which is the game's cue to throw more clickers at you. Then after saving Tess from some infected with the old Fists of Fury, you get to the rooftops and continue making your way over to meet up with the Fireflies. But when you get to the building, the Fireflies are fired. Dies, causing much panic. You're like, fuck it, we tried, let's go home. Tess is like, I can't, this is my last stop. This isn't a fucking train, what do you mean it's your last stop? Oh, I see. So did you trip and fall? Do you need a plaster? It's a fucking bite, Joel. Oh, I see. But that's how you get infected. She is infected. Oh, I see. While you're arguing, some soldiers turn up looking for trouble, and Tess being on death's door keeps them busy long enough for you and Ellie to escape. Yeah, Tess dies. It's very sad. Apparently, your brother Tommy works with the Fireflies and can point you in the right direction of where you need to take your little breathing vaccine factory. But first, you need to sneak past these soldiers. After doing so, Ellie tries to apologize to you for Tess dying. Makes sense. She wouldn't have become an infected buffet if you weren't transporting the most important thing since self-service checkouts. Those aren't very important. The introvert inside me would disagree. You supposedly have a mate called Bill who owes you some favors, so you make your way over to his place. Get on your knees! What kind of favor is this? He's an interesting guy, like if autism and violence had a baby. You're probably wondering why we wanted to find this delightful specimen, and it's because you want a car and he can get you one, I guess. Of course, it's the apocalypse, so working cars are harder to find than someone who loves me. Bill takes you to the other side of town and gives you some guns to deal with all the infected you need to go through to reach a military car crashed into a school that will have a working battery. Unfortunately, when you reach the car, the infected people notice, and that car doesn't have a battery, so this just wasn't worth it, really. You try to escape out the back, but are greeted by a bloater. A bloater is a big, chunky boy. Legend says they were once McDonald's best customers before the outbreak. After escaping, you find your way into a random house that just so happens to be the house that has a working car with the battery in. Bill's old mate took it before killing himself after being infected. He also didn't like Bill, but I can't really fault him for that. All the car needs is a pump start, which is hard to do when you're being harassed by the locals, but eventually you get it going and drive to safety. Also, I don't know how Ellie knows how to drive a car. She's 14 and the apocalypse started 20 years ago. If this was realistic, she definitely would have stalled and you'd be dead, but whatever. With a new whip, you part ways with Bill, and then you get attacked by bandits and crash it. That was a really nice thing to have for like 5 minutes. They're not some evil corporation out to get you like the soldiers were. They're just some random guys that want your stuff. Not that it stops you from fucking them up, though. There's a bridge across town. That's your way out. It's just on the other side of a shitload of bandits. Water that Ellie can't swim through because apparently she could drive a car but not swim. More bandits that have worse hearing than a 90-year-old rock enthusiast until you and Ellie get separated by a poor combination of some lift cables and your fat ass forcing you to fight runners, bloaters, your mum. Oh wait, no, that's just a bloater. I'm sorry, it's hard to tell the two apart. At one point, you get baptized by a bandit and he's about to send you to see God when Ellie gives him a one-way express ticket to the pearly gates instead. She's killed someone now, so you think, fuck it, might as well keep this train going. 2 guns are better than 1. Then you run into a slight 4-wheeled mounted turret problem that won't leave you alone. You end up trying to hide inside a house only to get attacked by a guy and a smaller guy. They thought you were the bad guys. You thought they were the bad guys. Turns out you're both the good guys. They're called Henry and Sam. They want to leave the city as well, so like mutual interest. Now you're friends. Wish I could make friends this easily. Henry's got a group of survivors who are supposed to meet him at a place, so when the 4 of you make it to his safe house, you wait for the darkness and an opportunity to skedaddle. You still need to sneak through some bandits and are once again confronted by the armored fuck you just as you reach the bridge. You try and escape over this van, but the ladder breaks as Ellie's climbing up it, and then Henry just fucking leaves you. What a cunt. With no other choice, you escape into a building with more bandits. If you come out with your hands up, we won't hurt you. Fuck you. You reach the bridge, but you're not exactly safe. Or maybe you are. These guys can't aim for shit, but the bridge is destroyed. Oh no. So your choices are to get killed by the gun with 4-wheel drive or have Ellie drown because she can't swim. Personally, I think Ellie drowning is good because at least you'll still be alive. So you jump in the water, then you face plant a rock. I don't know how, but you wake up on a beach perfectly fine, and even Henry and Sam are here. Yep, that's understandable. Either you're an idiot or Henry's the world's best liar because he's like, I saved you and now you're all best friends again. The four of you decide to head through the sewers to get where you're going because sewers are the embodiment of safety. Safety. You get separated into pairs and have to exterminate the sewer residents before being reunited and hunted down by enough clickers to fill a school for the blind. After escaping, you find yourself in a place. I don't know, there's houses and bad guys. Again. They're being dirty little campers though and are just sat with a sniper in a building at the end of town. They must have been Call of Duty players before the apocalypse. To keep everyone safe, you sneak around and deal with the camping little shit, but all the ruckus has attracted more people who you kill, and then more infected who you kill, and then you run away. Man, that was a close one, but we all survived in one piece. Oh, well, that's not good, is it? Sometime later, it is fall. You're on your way to find your brother Tommy, which would normally be hard to do in an apocalypse with no GPS or form of communication, but fuck it, here he is, living in a settlement with his missus. See, even Tommy can get laid in an apocalypse where most of the world has died, yet here you are, 7 billion people, and single as fuck. Tommy tries to give you a picture of your daughter, but even after 20 years, that wound is still pretty fresh. I've never had a daughter die on me, so I don't know how that affects you. I imagine it would be similar in pain to stubbing your toe. Point is, you don't want the picture. In case you forgot, because it's been a while, Tommy knows where the fireflies are and can take you to them so Ellie can be used to make a vaccine. So the girl I'm with, she's immune. Immune to what? Hopefully, she's immune to your stupidity. Anyway, I need you to take her to the fireflies. I can't do that, I've got a wife. Just take her with you. I told you I'm not going. Please? No. Pretty please? I told you no. Why are you always like this? This is like that northern Bob guy you were talking about. You just can't take no for an answer. He's the best YouTuber and you know it. He wasn't, and he probably was the first to get infected. You take that back! Suddenly bad guys attack. Apparently the bad guys attacking is enough to change Tommy's mind, and now he's going to take Ellie to the fireflies, but his wife is like, I don't want you to go. They must have only just got married, because normally married couples would take any excuse to be as far away from each other as possible. Ellie clocks that they're fighting because of her and runs away, so you and Tommy chase after her through some bad guys and find her inside this house. Why do you want to get rid of me so bad? Because last time I had a daughter, she died sounding like a seagull. Like a seagull? Is that like a symptom of the virus? No, it was just her voice actor. Sorry to interrupt, but there's bad guys. It's good that all the bad guys in this game have poor hearing. Quick update on everyone's feelings and shit. You want to get rid of Ellie, probably because you don't want to lose another child. Ellie feels rejected because everyone leaves her or dies, and now you're trying to do the same. In the end, you decide to leave Tommy and stay with her. Sometime after, you find yourself at the University of Eastern Colorado. No, you're not looking to get a degree and accumulate shitloads of debt that you'll never pay back. According to Tommy, that's where the Fireflies lab is. Spoiler, the lab is actually here. It's just missing the very important component in the form of actual people. Never mind, there's definitely people. One of the dead doctors in the lab left a tape explaining that the rest of the Fireflies are still trying to find a cure in Salt Lake City, which is on the other side of these assholes who are trying to kill you. Although you get through most of them, after a bit of a scuffle with one, you fall off a balcony onto a big pointy bit of metal. You know it's serious when even some wet blue paper towels won't fix it. Ellie's able to pull you off the pointy metal, but now you're bleeding out, in case you couldn't tell by the blurry vision and the walking as if you've been on a 3-day bender. She's able to get you on a horse and escape, but you're not looking good. You've passed out. Then we cut to winter and a little bunny rabbit. It's Ellie, but you're nowhere to be found. Are you dead? There's so many questions. She's hunting for food when she sees a deer, which is food, and begins chasing it. Although she's able to get a few shots in, it escapes to this abandoned factory before dying, and that's when she meets these two fucking weirdos. They don't immediately attack her, which is scarier for some reason. Hey there, little girl. We don't want to hurt you. We just want a taste of your delicious meat. Wait a second. You mean the deer? Oh, yes, the deer. Yeah, sure, but I need some medicine in exchange. You seem like a reasonable gentleman. Of course, we can get you anything you need. Anything for the meat. She agrees to give them the deer if they give her medicine, and while one of them goes to get it, she keeps an eye on the other, but a random ass clicker just happens to walk in and attacks her. Weirdo 1 shoots it, but now every infected person in the area knows their exact location. I don't know how she survived this, but it really says something that a 14-year-old girl can survive what most of the general population could not. They go back and wait for the other guy to return with the medicine, and you know what? Maybe maybe I was wrong about this guy. He's apparently looking for a crazy guy traveling with a young girl who killed his men. But, I mean, that could be anyone, really. It can't be you, because he just gave you the medicine you needed. In case you're still confused, by the way, the medicine is for you. You're still alive somehow. I don't know how a 14-year-old Ellie was able to move your grown-ass man weight, but whatever. The reason the weirdos gave Ellie the medicine was so they could follow her back to you, which worked. They're outside. She tries to lead them away, but her horse gets shot, and she gets caught by the weirdo. Instead of dicing her up and turning her into a nice bolognese, the weirdo tries to convert her. Maybe if you want to convert someone, don't put them in a room you dice up your enemies in. I've got to admire the weirdo's patience. She kills his friends, breaks his finger, and he still won't kill her. He must really want to knock her up. But then, from the darkness, emerges a powerful foe. It's you. You're alive. I mean, you still have a big wound that's poorly stitched up by a 14-year-old, but that's almost immediately forgotten about for the sake of smooth gameplay. You go outside to find Ellie, but instead find conflict in the form of these middle-aged men. It wasn't like life-threatening conflict or anything. Of course, the last thing you probably remember is face-planting the pavement after falling off the horse, so knowing where the fuck Ellie is kind of unlikely. But I tell you who does know where she is: the bad guys. They just need some persuasion. It looks like he might be out of time, though, because Weirdo and his friend have Ellie on the chopping block. I assume they want to eat her, but she's like, I'm infected, you probably don't want to eat me. I can't lie, that's a pretty good argument. No, Jimmy! Through the power of plot armor, Ellie escapes and starts sneaking through the Weirdo's town, killing more of his boys until he corners her inside some restaurant. The place starts burning down, and Ellie resorts to the tactic of stab and run until they have a big scuffle and they both pass out, I guess. Meanwhile, you're on the warpath. Any goons left after Ellie's little rampage get to meet their end in the form of an angry middle-aged man with daughter issues. Eventually, you see the burning building, and your first thought is, a burning building. Ellie must be nearby. I didn't know we associated Ellie with arson. Whatever, they're both waking up at the same time, and Ellie spots a machete, and I'm not gonna lie, getting thrown over someone's shoulder does not warrant her crawling this slow. Get a fucking move on, man. Crawl! See, now look what you did. The man who's been stabbed 5 times can move faster than you. Weirdo starts choking her and somehow doesn't see her reach for the machete. He slashes in with it and proceeds to just... I guess she didn't need you to come save her after all, but at least you made an appearance. Once again, we are back to spring. I don't know if that's when the story started, but I assume it is. If you remember, before you got put out of action, your next destination was Salt Lake City, and if that sign is anything to go off, we must be in the right place. I was expecting more infected and bad guys, but instead we get some fucking giraffes. Oh my god. For some reason, seeing those giraffes has got you questioning your entire mission. You know, after seeing those giraffes, I think everyone should die. That's a strange leap in logic. I guess giraffes just make me hate mankind. Ellie's still on board with the creation of mankind's cure, so you continue your quest to find the place where the fireflies are. Of course, that means going through some infected. Wouldn't be a very good apocalypse game without them. It's not long before you find yourself in spitting distance of Salt Lake Hospital. That's where the fireflies are. That's where you're about to be. All is good until it's not because of water. Ellie ends up being unconscious, so you do the CPR. These assholes interrupt you, though. They're like, hands in the air, acting like some guy giving a 14-year-old CPR is a possible threat. And instead of letting you finish, knock you unconscious too. Twats. It's not a group of banditos though, it's the Fireflies, and you wake up in a hospital with Marlene, so that's it, you did your job. Ellie's been brought to the Fireflies, who will make a cure and save the world. Marlene tells you the cordyceps infecting Ellie are illegally living on her brain, and to make the cure, the doctors need to get at them. Humans aren't really meant to have people poking at their brains though, so that means Ellie's gonna die, and... you take that news very well. After killing everyone, which I think is the opposite of what you're supposed to do in a hospital, you find Ellie being operated on, pick her up, and start looking for an escape. Maybe next time check to see if they haven't already cut her head open, because that's going to really affect your end game if that was the case. Of course, the Firefly soldiers are trying to stop you from taking her, but struggle to catch up to a middle-aged man carrying a 14-year-old girl. You're able to get in a lift, and it looks like you're going to escape, but then Marlene appears with a gun. Oh no. She wants you to give Ellie up because then you'll be saving lots of lives, but counter-argument. So you escape with Ellie, and she wakes up from a sedation. In the end, you tell her they couldn't make the cure. Is it because you have the interests of a 14-year-old at heart, or is it because you're willing to sacrifice the rest of the world to cope with your unresolved daughter issues? No one knows. Hey, thanks for watching till the end. Now, about where I've been. Seriously, I've been nowhere. That wasn't a joke. Basically, I've been experimenting with new video styles because these videos take a long time to make, and I want to upload something in between. If you think that's something you'd be into, I was going to make a second account and upload stuff on there. Call it Southern Bob or something. Eastern Bob, maybe. Let me know, I guess. Okay, bye.